Hey Ben, how you doing? Can you hear us? Ben's frozen.
He looks happy though.
He does. He's a very happy frozen person.
Hey,
Um,
There we go. He's
there you
back.
go.
yeah,
He's back.
can you hear me?
We gotcha.
Yeah. You were just kind of frozen in time there for a minute. We're live, by the way. We are live. I'm going to record this. How you going, Ben? Benjamin. How you going, man? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes. Can you hear
All
me?
right. How's
Ha-
things?
How's
Yeah,
your
yeah.
connect? How's your connection, Benjamin?
I can hear you just fine.
Are you on Wi-Fi or LAN? Because I think you're a bit
Things are good, man.
bit choppy.
Just trying to make sure everything's working here.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's
cool.
just a bit of a delay.
Uh, yeah,
Whoa.
it's I think my Wi-Fi might be a little bit slow right now.
All right. I'm going to close down a bunch of stuff and um, maybe there'll just be a little bit of a delay we have to put up with. But so very happy frozen person.
Hey,
Um,
there we go. He's back.
I'm here. I'm like hearing stuff we talked about 5 minutes ago.
That's a solid delay.
Kind of frozen in time there for a minute. We're live. What is going on?
Make sure you don't have the startup chat
Yeah,
site.
I actually hear that too, Dan.
Oh, does someone have the site open?
I had it open.
I think it might have been you then, Clav.
It was me.
Unacceptable. All right. I think we're ready to go. So, Ben, what we normally do is we have like a bit of a format where we go through our own kind of stuff, um, and then we'll get into your stuff after we go through like a little bit of a business update and stuff. I said
Okay.
stuff like 12 times. You can tell we're real professional at the Startup Chat podcast. I'll try to say stuff a little bit less, and Alex is going to try to say I think, a little bit less. So if he says I think, then let him know. So, Claff, let's
I
get
sure will.
going.
Well, let's do this thing.
Let's do a little bit of a business update. Do you want to start with that?
Yeah, sure. So in the last week, I guess we've had our monthly growth target is 10% month on month, which is realistic. It's not super aggressive, but as of today, we've hit that monthly target, so we're quite happy about that. We've
Oh,
got, as per usual, we've got about 5 or 10 different things that we're juggling in the air at the moment, but one of which is a book, and I think we've settled on a name for the book, some content for the book. Dan's pretty excited about writing the thing, so we'll be announcing that in a bit more of a formal forum in the coming weeks, I think. I said I think. I think
you said
that's
you think.
twice. That's two. I'm going to start writing these down.
It's a drinking game, isn't it?
I came prepared.
Yeah. Every time you say think, you have to drink water. Yeah, man. So it's been a good start. January's been good. It was a bit depressing to slow down over December, but January has been good. And we got tweeted by Google Analytics this morning. I don't know if that's big enough to make the business update, but that's pretty cool.
That I think that post, it's on, is it bluewiremedia.com.au?
Yep.
Yeah, so that one, I had a look at it just before we got on the call, and it had 538 shares, which is kind of cool. I think that's one of your more popular posts, Dan, so nice work.
That's hilarious. I spoke to Adam yesterday. He's starting a podcast called the Web Strategy That Works podcast. And one of his questions to me was, how do you guys get so many backlinks? And I'm like, I don't even know how many backlinks we got. You tell me. But he'll be stoked to see that that article has had so many shares. And I'm guessing a lot of them came from Google because their tweet got retweeted like 50 times. So yeah, they got 400,000 followers. So.
And you're feeling special because now they're following you, right?
I'm feeling extremely special because I think because they've got 400,000 followers and they only follow 200 people, so that's kind of cool. We'll see how long they start following. They stay following me though when they read some of the gibberish I put on there. All right, so we were going to do, because we don't have advertising on the podcast, we were going to start each show with a little bit of a pitch from each person. So I'll start with my little pitch, which is our site startupchat.co is now live. So all the posts that were on the dannorris.com have been moved over to startupchat.co. I've got to get this right, Wednesday 4 p.m. PST, which is Thursday my time, but Wednesday afternoon in the US we go live. And this is our third episode, so this is streaming live right now. There's up on the site. We've got one with Neil Patel last week, which was really cool, and one with Nelson from LeadIn.com the day before, which was also good. But yeah, I'd say call to action wise for me is we're in iTunes and Stitcher now, so we've migrated the old podcast Web Domination across to the new feeds in iTunes and Stitcher. So check us out on iTunes, and if you can work out how to do so, then please leave us a review and we'll read it out on the show.
Do I get to pitch now?
Yeah, everyone gets a pitch. Why not?
Awesome. I had a pitch yesterday. We were on the Business Growth podcast, and I was trying to be funny.
That was woeful. It was woeful.
It was probably the worst pitch you've ever seen.
Totally butchered it.
So Spencer said to us, he said, I try to do a JCal, a riff on JCal, I think he said, and part of that was to pitch the product or service that you've got when you get on his podcast. And I was making a joke to say, hey, I'm going to have a look at what our service is. And then my computer froze. And about 20 seconds later, I realized they were still waiting for me. So the pitch today is WordPress support, WP Curve, 24/7 live around-the-clock support. It's from $69 a month, and I'm going to say that it's the best WordPress support money can buy. That's my pitch for today. How's that, Dan? Better? Is that better?
Solid. Much better. I didn't actually realize you were making a joke yesterday. I thought you were just actually literally going for the document. I'm like, come on, man. You know what we do. I could do this.
I've pitched the curve hundreds of times, so it just rolls off the tongue.
All right. And Ben, do you want to give us an idea of what you're up to? Just introduce yourself, and if you got a call to action for people, put it out there now, and then we'll get into your stuff. I said stuff.
Yeah, I'm Ben Perove. I'm mostly kind of very tech-oriented, so I've gotten into a fair amount of web development, and some of these things I hope to kind of talk about a little bit more in terms of my general direction. I recently left my employer after approximately 4 years and 3 months, so that's kind of my big news right now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm definitely very excited to work on some of these things that are meaningful to me, and have a little bit more time for doing the things that I like. So
you're feeling free, and you've cast the shackles off.
A massive weight off my shoulders right now, so it feels pretty good.
That's really cool.
Very good. If I was smart enough, I'd put some applause into the show, but I'm actually not sure how to do that.
Let's not play with the Hangout effects. I've seen that go south very quickly.
Oh, there's effects?
No, there's not.
Oh, is there? Oh, okay. All right, let's move on. So Ben, your call to action was horrible because you didn't even mention your site. You got to get that right, man.
Yeah, I'm kind of actually a little bit. I'm not happy with my site right now, and so what I want to do is kind of nix the entire thing and start from scratch. So.
Okay. Business name, Twitter handle. Nothing. All right, we're moving on. we're moving on. So Ben, I've given Claff the rundown of your business, and we've got some ideas for you. But did you want to start by telling us what you're up to and what kind of advice you're looking for? And either we'll be able to provide something, or we'll be able to get some listeners to chime in with some comments and help out.
Yeah, sure, exactly. So what I'm up against right now is kind of a structuring or I have a challenge where I'm not sure where to actually put all my eggs. I'm not sure which basket to use. So I have a couple of ideas for tech-related things and some non-tech related things, and so in the end, I'm not sure. Do I put everything at my benperove.com site, or do I use another domain name? I have at least 2 that I've registered at this point, which could potentially be home to a new podcast that I want to start. And I see other people doing the same thing. Like similarly, you guys actually, Dan, you switched away from the Dan Norris site in favor of startupchat.co. Recently, the Tropical MBA kind of shut down the Lifestyle Business podcast in order to focus on the Tropical MBA. Just all this restructuring. I read Jab, 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 Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuk, and he seemed to think that putting all of your brand equity into your firstname-lastname.com was the right way to go. So that's kind of, these are the things that I'm thinking about right now. And so with the startup of the podcast and everything, I kind of see.
Wow, what happened?
I think we lost you a little bit towards the end there, Ben. But I don't know. I mean, what stands out to me so far is it sounds like you're thinking about the wrong things. I don't think a decision around whether you use benperove.com or whether you use internetmoving.co or whatever, I don't think that's really going to have any impact on your level of success. And I wouldn't pay attention to what we're doing, because our like all of our business is in WP Curve. So all the stuff you see on the dannorris.com and startupchat.co, that's all kind of fun, and it's stuff we love doing, but we're not making any money from any of that really. So we're sort of just doing that because we like putting out content, and we'd like to make more money from it. But the stuff you don't see is the fact that we've really got one brand with WP Curve, and that's where the majority of our income is. And it was going quite well when it had a crappy name, and it's going quite well now with a good name. I think that kind of stuff is probably not that important. What I would be looking at is like the business, what business you're planning on starting. Like, I think that's probably what we're going to get most value out of talking about today, is what business you're planning on starting and how you're going about it. The benperove.com, I wouldn't even be thinking about that right now. I don't know. What do you reckon, Alex?
Yeah, I agree. I think, oh no, I'm not going to say I think. The URL doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. It's what the service is. So if you hear WP Curve, it's a nice sounding name, but you have to dig a little bit deeper to find out what it really is. It could be WordPress support me or something like that, but the name is not really the critical feature of it. It's more about like what we do and how we do it. So I'd like to get straight into the internet moving site and get stuck into that. If you're keen to do that, Ben and Dan.
Sure, yeah, that's fine.
So is that still the one you're planning on running as like the main business?
At this point, yes. I have some ideas around what I want to do with that. I thought about sort of turning it into more of a self-serve type migration service, where it would just be super easy to migrate a site, and then it would be 100% automated for a lesser amount of money than most other moving services.
That sounds kind of complicated.
Yeah, it's going to take a little while for me to get to that point where it actually becomes a real service. But that's kind of what I was thinking about and the direction that I wanted to take it.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of kind of thinking about doing that down the track. And it's actually a really good thing that you'll be able to just do it manually at first, so you can kind of validate that people actually want to pay for it and work out exactly how much it costs you to do. So I think the automation part of it is probably not that important short term, but getting the customers, I imagine, is probably your biggest concern right now, isn't it?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I've got a few ideas about. I think I wrote a few notes down about the business as a whole. I think like there's a huge need for this, and we've referred people to a service like this before. I think we've referred people to WP Valet, who are one of the WP Engine partners, because we don't want to get involved in moving sites between hosts because it's kind of stressful, and it tends to be a lot of work, and it tends to be like mission critical type stuff. Like when a site goes down, that's not nice. So we don't really want to get involved. And it's also not a small job normally. So I think it's a huge need, and we actively referring people for this kind of stuff already. I don't like that it's not I don't really see a lot of potential for recurring. I really like recurring businesses, and I don't see a lot of potential for a recurring business. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of potential for partnership. So I'm guessing someone like WP Valet get a huge amount of benefit by partnering with WP Engine, who are just growing like crazy.
Right.
So I think you could probably, I mean, I don't think you could make it into a recurring service, but I think you could make it into a service where you're getting a lot of repeatable business as long as you've got the right partners. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that could fill up pretty quickly if I had only probably a small number of the right partners.
Yeah. I guess the only thing I'd also say to that is I wouldn't be putting all of my focus there initially. Like we had that same assumption with our business that we'd be able to partner with, companies that are established in WordPress or even just bigger agencies, and that send us a lot of work. And even now, I mean, it's only been 6 months, but we've got a couple of hundred monthly clients, and we still don't really have any partnerships. And those things are really hard to build, especially when you don't have that proof. So we've been focusing on making sure that we've got lots and lots and lots of happy customers.
Right.
And I think that's probably more sensible, because you could spend ages, like we spent four months trying to find agencies to sign up, and we just failed. And all the while, luckily, we were signing up other business owners. So I could see you going down the same rabbit hole with the partners, like just trying to chase people and it not going anywhere. And I think a lot of the reason for that will be that you just don't have any proof. So this is like a really high risk thing that people don't want to give to just anybody. They don't want just anyone to move their site.
Right.
So they want to have a lot of proof that it's going to go well.
Yeah, exactly. I had some other ideas for some things that would fall into that more sort of subscription-based service or recurring revenue, and so I was hoping that the podcast would actually serve as kind of a means for testing some of my ideas.
I think to me it sounds like you're focusing too much on the podcast. Like I mean I know guys have had a lot of success with podcasting, but it takes a long time. It's not a very good generator for leads, I don't think. Like starting a podcast and straight away building a business. I think I would be doing the podcast for sure and doing a lot of content to get that momentum, but it might take a long time before that turns into real clients. And
Right.
I think like as lead generation, what I would be doing is trying to find 5 really good case studies where you've done a really good job for 5 hopefully well-known people, get some really good testimonials, and then do word of mouth and just looking for actual customers rather than the content marketing, which is long-term. If you do that at the same time, great, but that wouldn't be my primary focus.
Just to establish the initial partnerships.
Yeah, podcasting is really good for that. Like even if you're just getting on, chatting to people who are big hosting people and, meeting them and all of that, it's good, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to start sending you all their work. It might mean they start sending you all their work in a year from now when you've done 100 migrations and you've got 100 happy customers and they've got friends who you've done work for. But I think it's more of a long-term thing.
Right. So
what do you think, Cliff?
Essentially, just talking to maybe perhaps design firms or trying to get a little bit of initial business.
I would jump in and say that design firms or agencies, things like that, I wouldn't focus your primary effort on that. And once again, talking about that 4 months that we spent trying to sell agencies, agencies likely do this themselves, or they have someone that already does it for them. And for you to get in and compete with that, and these are assumptions, by the way, but for you to get in and compete with that, you'd need to be able to do it cheaper, faster, and they'd also need to trust you, which is probably 95% of the battle.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't feel like there's anything wrong with going after the end customer. And I've also got a bit of feedback on how you've put the site together and what some of my concerns are around it. But Dan, did you finish going through what you had there?
Well, I definitely think going after the individual end customer is the best way to start, because I think everyone is going to have the same question, which is, why should I trust you? And it takes a long time to build up that trust, and the only way you're going to build it up is by doing a lot of good quality work.
Right.
Yeah, I would. I mean, you can test all of this, work out how much luck you have with agencies. If you talk to them and they literally start paying you, then great. If they tell you that sounds good, we might be able to do something, then that's not good, and they probably will never pay you. So I'd be focusing on who's giving you money, and I'd be trying to get some good case studies up early. Do a few free jobs, just for the testimonial, just so you can send people, look, this is the work I do, and here's a testimonial from someone. If they're influential, then that's even better. The actual site, I don't know if you want.
Okay.
I've definitely got a lot of feedback on the site, but you mentioned before that you were going to redo it. So what are you planning on doing there?
So I was referring to the benperove.com site. I just want to start that thing from scratch. The other one, I think, I mean, it doesn't really need to have too much other than what it already has. I don't think it needs a ton of work right now.
Internetmoving.co?
Right.
You learn to say it, man.
Internetmoving.co.
All right. Well, I mean, do you want to? I think it does need work, so I can give you some feedback on it, and Claff, you can probably give some feedback as well.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm chomping at the bit. Let me go first, Dan. Let me. So the things that I'll give you the criticism sandwich. The first thing that I really liked about the site was the fact that you've spent a fair bit of time on your copy. I love seeing people that put effort into their copy. You've really tried to highlight pain points, highlight the challenges, and one of the things that you said is downtime is not an option, and I like statements like that because that's in the customer's voice. If you're going to send leads and if you're going to send traffic to this site, I would say make it a lot easier for your customer to actually make that purchasing decision. I went through and submitted my details to do a hosting transfer, and it took a long time. You've got fields there for what type of database do you have, all these bits and pieces that can be picked up after. I would like to see it just as a really simple web form where you've got things like this is your existing host, this is the host that you're going to. What's the time frame that you need this done in, and click here for a consultation or something like that. It doesn't need to be 2 pages worth of a web form, because that's a big upfront commitment to make for someone. If they're not technical, they're not going to have any idea what you're talking about. I'm not a technical guy, and I was quite confused with some of the stuff that you're asking for, and I would, if I was trying to do it, I would probably have to go and seek help, which would mean I would drop off out of your flow.
Can I interrupt and give a follow-up to that, Claff?
Sure.
Sorry, I've got man flu, by the way, which is why I sound like Russell Crowe. So the one thing that Neil Patel said on the call last week was, and one thing I do with Informly as well, is on that homepage we actually take some information from them straight away. And in your case, it could be a URL, and that's what Neil Patel does. He just takes the URL on his site and gives them a bit of information after putting that in and making it into a 2-step process. I would probably take the email address just as a starting point, because then you can put that email address on a sequence. So what you'll find is a huge percentage of people will go from putting their email address in and they won't go through with the rest of the form. If you only have that rest of the form, then you'll never even know who these people are. If you have it as a 2-step process, you'll get the email address, you can put them on a sequence, you can add them to a list. This is the kind of business where, I I think you want to build up, if you're going to use content marketing to actually build up end customer email lists, then you want to do that over a long period of time, and you're going to have a big list, and you'll have to be at the forefront of people's mind when they want to move.
Mm-hmm.
But that may or may not be right now. So I think just getting their email address first would be, it'd be worth testing to see how much more opt-ins you get if you get their email address first, and then on page 2 you get another form. And I'm with Alex. I don't think you should be asking all of these details because it'll probably just scare people off.
So kind of reduce the amount of friction from just simply getting an email address.
Think about what the bare minimum is that you need to get in contact with that customer, and it could be a name, email address, and phone number. Like that could be it, and the rest of the process could be handled manually, because what you want is people to feel like, okay, I can share this information and then someone's going to be in touch with me. If you've got, I think, like you had address fields, you had all this hosting information, all this stuff that's like going to be quite hard to come up with, and that just gives people another reason to bounce out of the process. And I think it was a 3 or a 4-step web form.
Right.
And all you need is just, name, email, phone number, and I'll contact you with some more details, and that will get people in the door and started.
Okay.
The other thing,
I can definitely take some of the extra fields out of there. I know there are quite a few.
if you break it down, or even if you count how many fields are on there, I would say you've probably got more than 20 or 30. But I guess the product side feedback that made me a little bit nervous was the fact that you said you would transfer people from any plan and any host. And because you've got a technical background, I'll assume that you're capable of doing this, but you might leave yourself wide open to say that, if someone's got a really highly technical migration that they need taken care of, and you won't be able to provide that service, then that's going to leave a bad taste in their mouth. So it's not necessarily a bad thing to just say, okay, I do WordPress only, or I do Joomla only, or I do something like that only, just to kick off. Just so you can limit your risk and also limit your scope, and be comfortable that you know that you can do what people request. And that also gives you a little bit more focus in terms of who your customer is, because you know that people who need WordPress site migrations are probably they're probably going from GoDaddy to WP Engine, or going from Bluehost to a bigger provider. They're probably not going backwards, so that's going to be made a little bit easier as well for you.
So
yeah,
maybe,
don't be afraid to just go WordPress only. Like you look at someone like WP Engine, they've got 14,000 customers, and so I mean, just WordPress only. There's no way you need a bigger market if that's what you're worried about. The WordPress market is well and truly big enough for moving websites. So I think that's good advice.
Sure. Yeah. No, I would have to agree to kind of reduce the scope of the types of sites that I would be able to migrate, because obviously I can do some pretty large migrations, but with just focusing on WordPress, I think that'd be a good place to start.
I think even if you want to move to a place of automating most of it or all of it down the track as well, then it's going to be a lot easier. And the other good thing about starting a WordPress business is you get a lot of support from other people who've got WordPress businesses, which is nice. It wasn't really something I thought about at the time, but we get a lot of support. There's like WordPress business podcasts that we've been on, and there's other, like WP Engine have been a big support and had us on their blog and retweeted some of our stuff, and you kind of get to I guess grab some of the success of WordPress and WordPress specific businesses, because it's a nice tight community. Anyway, I mean, that's up to you whether you do that, but I think there are definitely some benefits to focusing a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's worked out pretty good for you guys so far.
And that's in spite of some of our attempts to sell to agencies and things. The last thing that I'd like to add is that your site needs to be fast.
You stole mine.
Did you have that?
Stole mine. You can't. I did have that. I had that right at the front. But you can take it. It's okay.
Oh, sorry about that. It was like I jumped on there and I had to, I was tabbing through different pages and it was taking forever to load. So if you're going to be the guy that people go to for fixing their hosting or migrating their hosting, they need to be confident that that up front. If we for us, if we've got a completely junky looking site and we're saying we're going to get in and fix your site, no one's going to believe in our USP. So you need to consider that when you're talking about, you know, helping people out with hosting. If your hosting's rubbish, then it doesn't really reflect well on your business.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I plan to kind of give a little TLC to. I've mostly neglected the server and the site itself for the better part of about a year now. So it does need a little bit of work and attention to kind of speed things up with Google Pagespeed insights. There are a number of ways I can improve that. So.
Yeah, I think this stuff should be forefront of your mind. You know, you shouldn't even be thinking about things like podcasting or partnerships. You know, if WP Engine get on your site and it takes 30 seconds to load the page, then that partnership's gone probably forever. So you need to focus on making sure that you're credible and trustworthy, which is really what every business has to do. But when you're a new business, that's the absolute #1 priority. You need to make sure you do good work. Make sure every indicator is that you're credible and trustworthy. And definitely the speed is a big one. I think the video should go as well because I think the video looks cheap, and I'm a fan of videos if they look professional and they actually add to the site and give you more credibility. But I think that video is taking away your credibility because I don't think it looks good.
Okay.
So I guess my challenge to you would be, rather than focusing on all the other stuff, I would say how many customers do you have so far? Have you done any moves?
I did one. This was some time ago. Obviously, not since I met you guys in the Philippines, but.
So that's the first thing is I think you should get 5 done, and you should get a testimonial from each one, and that should really be your homepage. It should just be, Ben's awesome, he did this. And that's it. You don't need anything more than that. So that would be,
and maybe even
focus.
offer those for no charge or something like that, just to actually do the work.
Yeah, if you have to. I don't think you may have to do that if you don't have any kind of list or network. And that's fine. If it's only 5 people, that's fine. I would definitely do that for free. We did all sorts of free stuff when we got started. If it's an influencer or something, then definitely. But you might not want to take on a job like that straight away, just in case, you know, something goes bad. It could kind of ruin everything. But yeah, free or paid, whatever. Just that should be the priority. And I think you probably should just set yourself a goal to do that in 1 week. Just do 5 moves in 1 week. There's no reason why you can't do that.
Sure.
And just have a really, really simple landing page. Even, I mean, for now, even just, I would probably replace what's there with just a little description of what you do and an email inquiry form. Make sure it's fast and focus then on just doing a good job for 5 people and having testimonials and then asking for a referral.
Okay. And the other thing that I considered was that I would actually do I would do a screencast of
I think we lost you at screencast. I think we lost you, but if just depending on what happens there, Claff, did you have more feedback on the page? Because this is still recording. We could still get this out there on the video until he comes back.
Yeah, I love the copy. Like I think
that's me being slow.
Yeah, you're coming in and out.
You got to get a LAN cable, man. Spend that $5 and plug into your router.
Does it sound better now?
A little bit.
Like dubstep. It sounds a little bit like dubstep. Maybe we can do a dubstep.
Yeah, I saw it kind of cut out there for a second.
Yeah, we lost the bit about the screencast.
Just to go back to the copy, I think the other updates to the copy that I'd suggest is looking at Dave Maxwell's copywriting checklist and going through that to give yourself a really clear framework of the problems that you're solving. And even if you can get a potential customer to read that out, that will give you a good feel for how that flows. Because there's a few points in there where you say things like blah, blah, which, like, it's cutesy stuff, but if you're looking to partner up or if you're looking to take on some work for someone who's got an established site or they run a real business, they'll see that and you might lose a little bit of credibility. we've done some work for our own sites where we've sort of toned down some of the trash talk that we have, just because for us it's fun, but it's not necessarily a great reflection on our brand and what we're trying to achieve. So also have to think about your voice and how you want people to perceive you, because that's quite important. And especially when you're doing business critical stuff like moving their entire website to a new host, they really need to feel like you're a professional.
Yeah, I'm actually just trying to load the site again. I can't even load it, but I do have a lot of bandwidth being chewed up by this thing. But I didn't really like the copy on there. I think it would be quite easy to come up with copy for this business, because people are full of fear when they're thinking about moving their site, because they've got bad history of things going wrong, and they've done it before and the site crashed and their web developer wasn't available. Like, what would be going through my mind would be, how do you know the site's not going to go down and I'm not going to start losing money? And when that happens, are you going to be accessible for me to contact you, to fix it for me? Because I've done it before with web developers, and when it happens, they're asleep almost every time. So I think it would be quite easy. Like, if every person who contacted you about a job, you ask them in their words why they want you to do it for them and why they're not using their developer.
Right.
And those are the kind of words that should end up on that page. And I think a lot of it will be driven by fear for something like this, because they're just worried their site's going to go down. All right, so he's kind of going in and out. I was going to see if we could ask him about do you want to, we lost you at the screencast thing, Ben, so I don't know if you can elaborate on that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll need to. I think I can probably revamp most of that and redo most of it, if not all of it.
Is this the video the same thing as the screencast?
Like I said, it hasn't really gotten much attention for the last. The screencast would be slightly different. The screencast would be a recorded voice of me actually walking through a website migration. So
I just don't think video is necessary. I don't know. I think like if the video looks really, really good, I don't think people care what process the migration is. I think they just worry. They just want to know that they can trust you and that the site's not going to go down. So, I mean, if you think the video is going to increase trust, then maybe. But I think what it probably will do is reduce trust, because it'll look cheap and look like it's just one dude at the end of the company. And I'd be careful about that. And I'd be careful about assuming that people actually want to know the process. It kind of feels like one of those things where people just don't want to touch it. They just want to make sure it doesn't break.
Yeah, if you apply that same thought process to WP Curve, then we would put like a screen cap of our developers getting into HTML or PHP and playing around in the background. And what I think people want to see is an outcome or a result, and it solves their problem. So I agree with you 100% on that one, Dan. I don't know how much value a tutorial, unless your product or service was to actually teach people how to do it themselves, then yeah, it's stick with outcomes over. Did we just lose him again?
Over the process. Yeah, but we can just keep talking because it's recorded. Hopefully it will be a better episode if we keep talking.
Just keep swimming.
Yeah, man.
Sorry, guys. I keep dropping the call.
It's all good. All right.
So yeah, go ahead.
No, you go.
I'm just trying to kind of reiterate in my mind some of the things I need to do with the site. Just kind of improve the copy on the page specifically for WordPress migrations. And I can also do a fair amount of content marketing around that. I can perhaps...
Sorry, you're right. You go. Sorry. There's a bit of a delay, but you keep going.
Okay, yeah, and so with some of the content marketing that I'm thinking about, I just wanted to, I was kind of thinking about coming up with horror stories that people have encountered with failed website migrations, things that are they're maybe a little bit more humorous in terms of the entire business.
Yeah, I mean, I think that possibly could work, although content marketing really has to be useful for people. Entertaining is good, but it has to be useful information. I honestly, I just wouldn't be focusing on content marketing right now. I would be making sure the landing page taps into their fears, make sure it's really simple and professional. Get your 5 projects out of the way with 5 testimonials and put them up on the page. Make sure that you rewrite those testimonials. So when we had Dane Maxwell on our show, he talked about people will give you the testimonials, but they won't be written in words that appeal to people. So if you can rewrite those to really focus on the deep fears that these people have, like someone might say, "Oh, it was great to get the site moved without any hiccups," but what they're really saying is, "I was really worried that when we moved our site, it was going to crash and I was going to lose money and lose credibility. But once I got Ben involved, it all went through smoothly, and now we're happy and we love Ben." So that's just like the rewriting process. I would say the responsiveness, like in our business, the ability to respond.
So I can almost
write
really
important.
The testimonial for them.
Yeah. So because people will write their own testimonials and they'll just kind of tell you what they're thinking, but they won't tell you what they were fearful of. So yeah, I was just going to say quickly about responsiveness. In our business, we found that that's the most important thing, that people care about that. And in your business, I think it's going to be even more important because people are really worried that you're not going to be available when the site goes down. So I'd definitely consider capturing that in your copy if my assumptions are correct. Ask people what they're worried about, but I'd say that would be one, and work out how you can somehow be there if something goes wrong, and make sure that's clear in your copy. And make sure the site's fast. Like just move hosts or whatever you have to do to make sure it's fast. And then content marketing is definitely secondary. I think the main things, I would say content long term could potentially be a really big way for you to generate like an ongoing traffic source, but I think it will take a long time. Like if you start I would start putting content out around, things like WPMU did a big hosting comparison, and it's an awesome piece of content that compares speeds with all of these different hosts, and it took a long time to do, and it probably generates leads for them on an ongoing basis. Probably took them a couple of months to put together. That kind of stuff could be really useful for you, but it's not going to send you leads straight away. So I would be looking for direct customers initially, medium term looking for partnerships, and I'd also be looking for affiliates, because I think something like this would be really good for affiliates, because everyone knows someone who wants to move to a different host, and it would be if it's a one-off cost, it's easy to pay $50 to an affiliate to send you a lead. So I'd be looking at that angle as well.
I've got something to add off the back of that. I think the trick to getting this
that's interesting.
The trick to getting this moving would be to do this in the next 7 days. So don't waste any time on it. Don't and ah about your URL or what piece of content you should write. Give it 110% for 7 days, and if you can get some traction on it and you get some interest, then push it forward. If you can't do that, then review at the end of the 7 days and see if it's something that you want to stick with, because the work that you're going to be doing is going to be laborious, it's going to be hard, it's going to probably be high stress. So you're really going to need to make a commitment to go, okay, I'm going to try and see this thing through for, X days, or I'm going to try and, move X sites. But I would say move quickly.
Yeah. And I'd add to that by saying don't give yourself 7 days and spend all week writing a blog post and planning a podcast, because you're not going to get anything immediate out of that. So if you're going to spend 7 days trying to get these 5 customers, make sure that is how you're spending your time, actually chasing individual people to try and get the customers. I would probably give the WP thing some serious thought. I probably wouldn't update the copy on your site to say, we focus on WordPress sites. Like if it was me, I would, and I mean, I don't want to make this decision for you, but if it was me, I would probably actually make it a WP Movers service, so like wpmovers.com. Then instantly people will know exactly what it is. You'll be part of that sort of WP crowd, and
Right, right.
I think you will get better growth doing that than if you just make it broad, but that is definitely something to test and think about what you want to do.
Okay, I will definitely take that into consideration. That sounds like it could be a good way to niche down a little bit.
Yeah, and it's not niching down. I mean, that's what, like, people talk about niching down. WordPress is not a niche. It's 70 million websites. Like, you look at WP Engine, they just got $15 million in funding. They're doing $10 million plus a year, and obviously they think they can be doing hundreds of millions a year. Otherwise, no one's going to give them $15 million in funding. So
Right.
it's not a scary niche at all. It's a huge market.
Yeah, there are a lot of websites that run on WordPress. I'm just speaking in terms of all the other platforms that are out there right now. Perhaps Joomla or Expression Engine, Ghost, Medium, all these other different platforms.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally up to you whether you decide to focus on one of them, but I think it would be a good idea to do that. If it was me, I would do that. The other good thing about WordPress is all the influencers are using WordPress. So every blogger, every person who's an internet marketer who's going to refer you and become an affiliate, anyone who's going to mention you and have a partnership and spread the message to their audience, they're all going to be using WordPress, and it's very easy for them to say to their audience, Ben is the WordPress moving guy, and it's a lot easier for them to say that than it is just saying this is a general internet moving company.
Correct. Yeah, I agree.
All right. So just as a call to action for other people listening to this, we'll wrap it up in a second, but if you go to startupchat.co/51, so this will be episode number 51, and if you're keen, Ben, it'd be cool just as a call to action to get other people to come on there and leave a comment and tell us what they think about what you should do. Other than getting a new internet connection.
or a LAN cable, please. We'll even send you one. We'll take that out of our profit for next month.
I don't have a LAN cable. The MacBook Air doesn't have a plug for a LAN cable. I've never had one. I need one?
You know. It makes for a better hangout. Let's just say that.
All right. Do you want to wrap up, Claff, or is there anything else?
Yeah, look, if you're listening to this and you've got a business idea and you want to jump on and have us tear it to shreds, we'd love to do it. We try to be as constructive as we can, and we hope this is helpful to people who are in that early stage of their business, or even kicking along and looking how to grow. That's where we want to help. If you're in that position, don't be afraid to put your hand up and come and have a chat, and we're happy to continue to help you as you grow your business. So we'd love to, see where you're at in 7 days, Ben, and see where you take this thing, because we think that there's a massive market in WordPress if you wanted to go that way. There's, as you mentioned, a ton of other platforms that you can go after, but the trick is going to be actually doing the work. So get in, do the work. Let us know how you go in 7 days.
Okay.
And if you don't.
Do we have some sort of punishment clause?
I'll send you I'll send you an angry email.
All right. Anything else, Ben? Is that useful?
That sounds good. Yeah, no, I really appreciate the feedback. Tearing my entire idea apart was exactly why I got on here. So I kind of figured you would definitely not let me down there, Dan and Alex.
That's good. All right, that's awesome. Well, hopefully we'll get some good stuff on the site as well. So startupchat.co/51, and jump on there and tell us what you think about Ben's idea and where he can take the business. If you're on the call live, then thanks. We're going to work out a way to get people to comment while we're live. I think at the moment you can probably do it on YouTube. It's a bit hard to explain, so we'll probably have that in place by next week, just at startupchat.co. Other than that, please leave a comment, and if you can figure out iTunes, jump into iTunes and leave us a review. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you next time.
See you next week, everyone.
Thank you. See ya.